What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Iron Fist Season 1, Episode 2, Shadowhawk Takes Flight, and I'm starting to think that that was not a raven, but actually a hawk. So anyway, I don't know my birds. We do see this, it was kind of what I was hoping for, but also not really what I was expecting at the same time. We do get a little bit more on Danny and his backstory and how he came to be who he is. But at the same time, we don't get it in really a flashback setting like I was expecting. We still may get that because they didn't really go through all of the things that happened. We just sort of got an overview of, oh, you were picked up by monks and Kunlun, which is apparently not of this earth. It's in another dimension. I was expecting Doctor Strange to pop out and be like, other dimensions are real. Just unfortunately, they can't afford Benedict Cumberbatch. But anyway, so a lot of this is Danny pretty much trying to convince this doctor in the mental hospital that he is who he says he is. We've also got Ward and his father kind of figuring out what to do about it. We've got Joy trying to figure out whether or not this is actually Danny. And we've got Colleen dealing with Ward trying to come in and sort of convince her to turn against Danny. So, a lot of very interesting storylines going on here. Probably one of my favorite, though, is watching Ward and his father sort of, I guess, go up against each other, butt heads on their ideals, because clearly Ward he says he's one of these people that, I don't want to deal with whatever you're doing, but at the same time, he very clearly is. It's almost like he doesn't want his father to know that he's just evil. It's very weird, because his father, to me, isn't quite all evil. He doesn't seem like he's going to be the main antagonist, because he wants to use Danny, because it looks like the hand has already got it out for him. They wrote on his window, "Where have you been?" and they put the handprint on there. So very clearly, it looks like he's up against the hand, and Danny is the sworn enemy of the hand, which I find very interesting because, we've seen the hand involved in Daredevil in both seasons through his mentor Stick. So I'm wondering if they're going to start to become a little bit more of kind of the main antagonist for the Defenders and all of that stuff. But it seems very interesting that Harold is not quite like, oh, let's just kill Danny. Ward is very much like that. He gets these guys that are in the mental hospital to start kicking the crap out of him late on. So clearly he doesn't want him moved and protected. He wants him out of the picture, like done. So I think we're starting to see that Ward is much more the evil figure here. Harold is more like very clearly something evil going on, and he's got his problems, but he's not quite the antagonist that Ward is. So I feel like that's going to start to show as we get on in the season. And just on top of that, the fact that Harold was played by Faramir, I didn't even know. When I was looking up like IMDb stuff, I was looking up the actors because some of them look kind of familiar. And all of a sudden I get to Harold, and it's the guy that played Faramir from Lord of the Rings. I'm like, he did not age well. I don't know, something about him, he just looks not the same. It almost kind of reminds me of, what's his name? Oh, the guy that played Green Goblin and Spider-Man. I can't remember his name now. Crap. I'll remember it after this review is over. But I just love that dynamic and what they're doing there. Seeing just how he's got an eye on everything. He's trying to keep control of everything, while Ward is trying to run a business while also trying to, I guess, profit himself and just get Danny out of the picture, because there's very clearly a rivalry there that we've seen from some of the flashbacks to when they were younger. And I have to wonder if all the stuff that Danny said in the last episode, you locked me in a freezer, you put a dead frog in my sandwich, you kicked me in the balls every chance you got. I'm wondering how much of that is true and how much of that it was his kid mind, like, over-exaggerating. I feel like most of it was true, though, just watching Ward now. He's very clearly just this shifty, evil person. So, I like that. I also like how we find out Joy comes to realize the truth in this one. She's questioning herself throughout this entire episode, which, I do like, because I said at the end of the last one, I didn't really think that she drugged him because she's in on the whole thing. I realized it was probably a Ward thing, and sure enough it was. But I like the fact that we do see that side of her personality where she's like, I just don't know if that was right to do. So even though very clearly she's scared of this, she's scared of Danny because she doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know if he's telling the truth or not. Out of fear, she did what Ward told her to do. But at the same time, she's got that part of her that's like questioning everything. She doesn't want to just automatically believe, oh, that's definitely not Danny. There's no way possible, never, never. Which is what Ward wants to do because he wants him out of the picture. And so, of course, we see she realizes, ooh, I know a way to test it. Sends him a bag of M&Ms, takes out all the brown M&Ms, sends it back, and that's her proof, because that's something only she and Danny knew about. Which does bring me to a little bit of a question that I didn't really ask in the first review, but I probably should have. There are probably easier ways that Danny could have gone about this. Start talking about things that only they would know, like that Monopoly game that he saw on the roof. If he remembers stuff like that, why not say stuff like that? Stuff that the he couldn't find online, that he couldn't find on the news. Like, you don't remember that time when we did this and this, and just word for word describe exactly what happened. I'm sure there were a bunch of easier ways, but because this is a TV show and we need to have conflict, he goes in and he only names off like, oh, I was on soccer team with you, I was the goalkeeper. Well, yeah, you could have found that out anywhere. Why not talk about the Monopoly game or the M&Ms, something like that. But anyway, long story short, it does lead to what I think is a very good, I guess, moment for Joy where she's kind of breaking down, just like, it really is him, it is Danny. And if you have him just come in and instantly prove that he's Danny, it kind of takes away some of the emotion whenever she realizes that she's been doing all of this, locked him up, all of that stuff. She did all of that to Danny. That just makes her feel even worse about it. So I like her side of the story. Colleen, I like what they're doing with her as well, just because I like her personality and how she's kind of handling Ward. He comes in and he's being very like mysterious, but also kind of commanding. Like, he wants her to listen, and he's almost threatening, but not really. He's more like threatening because, Danny could be a threat to you possibly, and he's offering her money. He's trying to bribe her. And you can see she's not buying it, But I do have to. There's one question I do have. Why did he leave her with the papers to sign and the check? It just kind of bugged me a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, but she could have just taken the check and given back the papers. Just dropped them off somewhere. You would be down. Obviously, $50,000 is probably like a penny for them, but still, it's like you're just giving away free money almost. That's strange, but. Ultimately, she goes to Danny, she talks to him, and she decides, I'm not going to sign him. I'm not going to help keep him in there because he doesn't deserve that. So I feel like at this point, she wants to kind of be left out of it, which that sounds like somebody else we know, Claire. It's just funny seeing kind of the symmetry where we see Claire was kind of the same way, she just wanted to help. She wanted to help somebody in need, but then she ends up in the midst of it, and it's like at that point she's just like, I just wanted to help. I didn't want any part of this, but she's already too far deep, so she can't really get out of it. I feel like it's going to be the same thing with Colleen. Like, she doesn't want any part of this. She just wants to make sure she's not helping, Ward do something to an innocent man. But I think by that refusal, it's actually going to get her wrapped up in it. She'll probably get attacked or something like that, and at that point, she will be a part of it. So I kind of like the symmetry there of these two characters between Claire and Colleen. And on top of that, she just, like I said, her personality is really funny. Just listening to her, not really take any crap from anybody. He asks, did he come in and threaten you? He's like, that would be a mistake. So I really like Colleen. Hope she continues to be a big part of the show. I think she probably will be. And then on top of that, just everything inside the hospital I really liked. At first I was kind of getting this vibe of, oh, they're just going to always think he's crazy. Everything he's going to say is going to come off as crazy. There's never going to be any moment where they're just like, maybe. But they actually do. They treat it very realistically. At first he's talking about the plane crash. He's talking about all that. And the doctor is actually like, yeah, okay, yeah. And it seems like he might actually be believing that, oh, well, maybe this is true. But then he gets to the part about the monks, and he's just like, oh, okay, this guy's crazy, and starts writing stuff down, and then pulls out the passport about John Anderson, brings him into the office, shows him the thing about the Rand commercial, to which Danny's like, yeah, I remember that day. My dad took me to the circus afterwards because I didn't really want to be a part of it. And of course the doctor's just like, God, this guy still doesn't believe it. And then he tells him, you're not Danny Rand, you're John Anderson. And then Danny flips out, throws everything. At this point, the doctor in most TV shows would just be like, well, just more proof he's crazy. That's all I need to know. But what I like about this is that he's like, you know what? I'm actually gonna I'm actually gonna do what I should do in my job. I'm gonna do some research because he says the passport's a lie. He says that he got it in Morocco to, get back into the United States. So you know what? Let's actually do some research. He calls Joy up, asks about that day on the commercial. She tells him everything that Danny just told him, and so at that point he's like, you know what? Maybe he really is Danny. So he goes to talk to Danny, starts saying, I know you're Danny. Tell me what happened after the plane crash. And he starts talking about the monks, starts talking about Kunlun, the extra dimension, all of that stuff, being the Iron Fist. And of course, at that point, I kind of realized the doctor believes he's Danny Rand, but he's still going to say he's crazy. That's pretty much what happens. And that is kind of realistic. Because you hear the fact that, oh, you're Danny Rand. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, your parents died. That's traumatic. Okay. And now you say that you have superpowers. I'm going to chalk that up to trauma. And it kind of makes sense. If you're looking from the outside, if you don't know that he ends up actually being a superhero, that would actually make sense. And that's what I really like about this episode is that all of that stuff is very realistic. How they handle the mental hospital, how they handle his little thing, they treated it very realistically. It wasn't like, the doctors are completely closed off against any possibility of it being true. They have 72 hours to figure out what's wrong with him, if there is anything wrong with him. And so after about 72 hours, he says, okay, I realize you're Danny Rand, but the stuff about the superpowers, I just can't buy it. And because you went through a trauma of losing your parents and going through a plane crash, I have to assume that may have something to do with it. And of course, Danny, can't show him his powers because they still got him on the drugs. But thankfully, it actually works out in his favor because Ward, not really listening to what his dad said, because I still think they're still clashing. He has some of the killers in the mental institution go teach him a lesson, I guess. But one of the doctors, who I guess is being paid off by Ward, takes him into a room. They start beating him up. But as he's getting hit, he starts smiling. And I remember he started talking about to Harold. One of the things he said was, the more I get hit, the more, I guess, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like the more he gets hit, the more power he gets. So it's almost like, every time he gets hit, it's just powering him up. It's almost like a revenge thing, on a video game. The more you hit your opponent, the more power they end up getting, and then they release some kind of revenge energy. That's pretty much what happens. All these hits they're delivering to him, and then the guy's like, regards from Ward Meacham, and is about to hit him again, and then all of a sudden you see his fist start glowing. I'm like, oh, it's time. Breaks out, knocks all the guys out. Here comes the doctor to come open up the door. He pushes the doctor aside. You see his fist is glowing. It's just like, time to get out of here. Jumps, punches the door off. Just the door and some of the wall just knocked off. And I love the cut to Harold, who's watching all of this on the cameras. And I just love his reaction. He's like, holy shit. It was brilliant. Just the entire scene was awesome. And then Danny just leaves the hospital, and that's how it ends. So I love the setup, though. I hope this isn't one of those things where now he's on the run, like the mental hospital is going to be like, he escaped, we got to go get him back. I hope the doctor, I'm assuming they can watch the tapes too, because why would the cameras be set up if they weren't able to see the tapes as well? I'm assuming Harold is just tapping into those tapes. But I just hope that he looks at those tapes, he sees what he did. He sees what Danny was able to do, sees the Iron Fist glowing, and says, alright guys, I was wrong. That's superpowers right there. I was wrong. Just leave him alone. Just let him be Danny Rand. That being said, I think that probably Harold or Ward will step in at some point, either silence the doctor or change out the tapes or something to where he doesn't get to see that. Because it would be way too easy if he just saw that and said, okay guys, this is Danny Rand, he has superpowers, he's called the Iron Fist. Award him, he's a superhero now. But yeah, I like the setup though. And it's just, overall, it was a really good episode. couple scenes I do want to talk about that just stood out to me. One in particular was, obviously Harold's scenes were some of my favorite just because I like seeing him. I like seeing just this different side of him that never got to see as Faramir. But one of the scenes that he just really, you got to see a little bit into his psyche and who he is. He's got this assistant Kyle who's just like this really nervous little kid almost. He's looks like he's probably 21, 22, probably just happened to apply for the job because he had nothing else to do. And he brought him in because he knows Kyle is just nervous and won't listen to anybody but him because he's too scared to listen to anybody else. And so there's this scene where he's talking to him about the doctor and how this doctor's not asking any of the right questions. He's like, sorry, sir. He's like, stop apologizing to me. He's like, sorry. Okay. So he starts talking again. And he's just like, I can't believe we got a doctor that just actually wants to help him. He's like, sorry, sir. It's like, you really can't stop, can you? You want to know what my dad did whenever I couldn't stop apologizing to him? Takes off his belt. He's like, took off his belt and he hits the desk. He's like, hit me over my back again and again until I stopped apologizing. Never apologized to him since. And you kind of see that little bit of a psychopath in him. And part of that probably has to do with the fact that his father was abusive. And I'm wondering how much of that transferred onto him and into Ward. And so, like I said, even though he doesn't seem like the main antagonist, because Ward definitely seems more of an antagonist than he does, you definitely do see where he's still not a great guy. He's still not somebody that, oh yeah, I can see Danny teaming up with him later on. No, he's probably still going to butt heads with Danny as well. I just think because Ward and him have such differing ideologies, it's almost like it's going to be one of those three-way things where you've got Ward and what he's trying to do, you've got Harold and what he's trying to do, and then you've got Danny trying to stop them both. And I love that sort of dynamic. Like, if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts 2, one of the best things about it is seeing, one group of bad guys versus another group of bad guys while your hero is just in the midst of it all trying to stop both of them at the same time, but they're also feuding with each other. And so it's almost like certain alliances start to get formed that you never expected to get formed. I'm hoping they take that same route here. I would love to see it where you see Harold is doing something evil, and so Danny's trying to stop him, but at some point he realizes Harold is like the lesser of the two evils, and so teams up with him to stop Ward or something like that, because Harold realizes Ward's not doing what he wants him to do. There's just so many possibilities. I hope they take advantage of at least one of the great possibilities that I have in mind. Because whenever you see a TV show like this where it's just like, ooh, I can think of several great stories that they can do off of this, you like to see them do a great story. I hate for all of this potential to be wasted on some bland plot line that I've already seen in some other shows. So we'll see where it's going, but for now, I think that's about it for this episode. If there's anything that I missed that you would like to talk about, let me know. Let me know what you guys like and dislike about this episode. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Iron Fist reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.